We can talk China. We can talk. We haven't talked in so long. I mean, American Enterprise Institute, and then think of the Fed balance sheet and the amount of money that we're spending. Are we going to make our way out of this someday, Arthur?
Yeah, we tend to make our way out of these big messes, Joe. As you know, capitalism is the best way to get your way out of almost any economic mess. It's a mess, to be sure, but there are all kinds of incredible opportunities that lay ahead of us. I mean, think about it. I mean, all of our friends who favor a more collectivist approach are looking at the current situation as an opportunity to radically raise taxes. Well, those of us who prefer a more limited government approach can think about this as an opportunity to radically deregulate for new entrepreneurs, which would be great for the economy, to divest of a good amount of federally owned assets, to pay down some of the debt that we're accruing. There's a lot that we can do to get out of this, but the key thing to remember is that democratic capitalism is the best tonic for any economic woes.
It's bad to waste a crisis. You can see it sort of happening, and then once some of these steps are put in, they never get taken out, and certain people on the political spectrum want to use this to do a lot of different things, I think. But you can't really bring it up, Arthur. Then you're being cold-hearted, and I don't know. Do you see it happening, though?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty normal. I mean, anybody who's a good political or policy entrepreneur will look at the current situation and say, look, what are the changes that we need to make? I mean, legitimately, people are saying, where do we want our economy and our society to be? How is this a hinge point, an inflection where we can actually look, where we can dream and dream bigger? I mean, any entrepreneur knows that where other people see tragedy and challenge, we should be seeing crisis. And the same thing is true
Arthur,
for you and me.
You're so antiquated. Don't you see that the government is saving us, so socialism is the right way to go? I mean, we aren't capitalists anymore. This is all about government saving us. So how can you, with a straight face, say that this is about capitalism when, once again, you need to be bailed out?
Well, we will see when this is all over. And almost every American sees right now that, in point of fact, it's only capitalism that's going to bail us out. I mean, people are saying, well, look, the American system is in shambles. Well, who actually thinks that it's going to be anything but the Western industrialized entrepreneurial economies that are going to come up for a solution to this crisis? And we should be thinking that way, to say, OK, look, I understand why we have the welfare state. I understand why we have the government. But this is a great opportunity for us to understand better our entrepreneurial economy. Look, what can we actually do right now to roll back the regulatory state such that new entrepreneurs, when we come out of this, have more opportunity to thrive? What can we do just boldly right now to actually make it easier for new entrepreneurs to flourish as we come out of this? And by the way, and the other point is this, how do we pay back the $5 or $6 or $7 trillion? Well, one way to do it is to add a lot of punitive taxes forever. But, the federal government owns a lot of assets. How much and what could we actually find that we could put into private hands to pay back some of this, which would be actually good for the American economy to begin with as well? Let's be creative.
Arthur, I don't think anybody's debating capitalism or the virtues of capitalism. I think there's a question about free market capitalism. I think you're talking about regulations to some degree. And I think we all want more entrepreneurship. And clearly, you look at some of the efforts on vaccines, and we cross our fingers and hope that those capitalistic efforts, if you will save us in truth. But at the same time, I think what Joe mentioned, I think he was saying it sarcastically, in part for my benefit, is we are relying. You talk about wanting to have a more limited government. We are relying on the government at this point. We are relying on the Federal Reserve to both print money, the Treasury Department to hand out money in ways that we haven't in generations. And isn't that an indictment, really, not of capitalism at all? I don't think this is about capitalism. I think this is about how do we find the right balance between taxing people and paying for things, in this case, a form of insurance, if you will, for all of us. And what is the right balance to actually encourage economic growth, encourage job creation, and also be able to pay for what we're doing? Because even in the best of times, Arthur, and I know you'll agree with this because the data is it is what it is. Even in the best of times, we don't pay for what we're doing.
Yeah, no, that's right. And the truth of the matter is that I don't think any of us object to the existence of the welfare state or a government that does redistribution. I think personally the greatest achievement of capitalism is our ability to support people, brothers and sisters, people who are less fortunate than we are, that we've never even we've never even met. In fact, it's only capitalism that's made that possible. But it's true. We've been irresponsible in spending more than we can actually afford to, and pretending that we'll be an economy that can print money forever at the international level and that people will take our bonds forever. And that's foolishness, to be sure. This crisis is a day of reckoning for that. The question is going to become, is the right way to deal with this extraordinary circumstances where we're doing more of what we've been doing wrong, but we're doing more of this for logical reasons in a big way, is the way to get out of that to go into a European-style welfare state that is way more redistributive and has much more punitive rates of taxation? Or are we going to find a better way to actually deal with these circumstances, to cut back our permanent spending levels when we go back to a status quo, and in point of fact, divest of federal and state assets that some people would say we shouldn't own in the first place?